Hey, everybody, Michael Sherlock here with Shock Your Potential. Today, I'm talking about taking flight. I wonder why. Let's see. Well, last week I took a couple flights to get me to vacation, so I'm actually enjoying a little bit of time off. But one of the funny things for me about flying is that in a normal non pandemic year, I fly about, I don't know, 100,000 miles or so a year all over the globe. Um, Here's the secret. I don't like flying. I get a little nervous. In fact, on one of my flights, I actually was seated in the window seat. I like the window seat. It helps me to be able to look out when I get a little nervous, when we hit bumps and clouds. And there was no window in my window seat. So that was not very fun, but it's part of what happens because flight is a process. In fact, it's funny because I've had people say, well, if you're afraid of flying, maybe you should learn how to fly a plane. I actually thought about it, and it's possible. I might do it one day. I'm not really sure though, because I mean, if I don't like riding in the airplane, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about flying an airplane. However, I totally get it. I'll do that in my spare time one of these days. But what's really funny is where I'm staying right now in my hotel, literally outside the window. And I actually am taking some vacation, but I was taping some podcasts today. I'm right next to a very small little regional airplane. And all day long, I've been watching these planes land one after another. And I watch how they line up and I watch how they get ready to have their turn to come land. I've seen a couple take off, but not as many as landing. I'm not sure what that's about. Might be looking the wrong runway to see the takeoffs, but I'm seeing probably a landing every 5 minutes or so. And it's kind of fascinating because they're very small, tiny airplanes. I don't really like small, tiny airplanes, so it's been very, very interesting. So I got thinking, well, what does it take to be a pilot? Well, obviously, you've got to want to be a pilot. You've got to have, some excitement about it. You've got to learn. You've got to take classes, lessons. You've got to take tests. You've got to be able to read instruments. You've got to be able to know how to handle different situations. So there's a lot of parts to the professional preparation to actually fly, right? But then when you fly, you've got other issues that you need to deal with as well. I was just thinking about the pre-flight checklist. What pilots are doing. Anytime you fly and you're at the airport, you can see the pilot and the co-pilot run. They walk around the entire plane and look at it from underneath and make sure everything's connected. They're doing a checklist. They're literally actually going through saying, do we have fuel? Do you have your seatbelt on? What's our odometer? Not the odometer. The odometer. I don't know, really. I have no idea what any of the things are up there. What's the throttle? I don't know what parts are in an airplane, but you can get the idea. And, so they're asking really important questions to get ready for the flight. Makes sense, right? So then, you fly and you got that whole flying thing where it's kind of important. And then you've got, when it's time to land, you've got to also do a checklist. Do we still have enough fuel to land? Where are we landing? Do we know where the runway is? We've also seen some of those, harrowing events where people land airplanes on freeways, highways, cornfields, in the rivers, in the ocean. But regardless of what they're doing, they have to have a strategy for that. Now, what does this have to do with business, you may ask? Well, I thought it was a good correlation that is motivating me this day. Now, before I get into this, remember, if you like what we're doing here, please subscribe and put some comments for us on our little YouTube channel here, because we need more of you to be invested in this. So here's what I came down with. Basically, 3 things. That first of all, thinking about whether it's flying an airplane or it's being successful in your profession or for your business, that there's an importance for air traffic control. Now, remember, I said all those other things like, learn how to fly the plane, take the lessons, pass the tests, all that. Let's just pretend that's all done, kind of like where you are in your career or your business journey right now. You've done those things. But now the question is, how do we really excel at them? Well, first of all, we have to recognize the importance of air traffic control. In many businesses, air traffic control is actually like senior leadership. So for my companies, that would be me. But now also I have 3 senior leaders who are looking at the business on a day-to-day basis at a closer level. And those senior leaders or owners of the company are the leadership that guide. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to recognize that you are air traffic control. Even if you don't have a whole team, you are the one responsible for directing all the activities of your organization. And recognizing the importance of air traffic control is knowing that decisions have to be made to not only have safety in the airfield and safety in the airspace, but to also make sure that we're getting where we want to go. So air traffic control is not just about giving directions. It's about creating the environment for opportunity. Opportunity to fly, opportunity to get someplace else, opportunity to grow your business, get new clients, whatever it is. And that air traffic control has to be represented, respected, and followed. There's a reason. And we don't always follow those things, especially if we're entrepreneurs. We might not always follow the steps that we need to take to look at our businesses from a global perspective. And sometimes if you're working for someone else, it's easy to get caught up in your job, your function, your set of tasks, and not understand that air traffic control is trying to maneuver a lot of people in a lot of positions to make the companies move forward. So that awareness, that recognition, that respect, and that action allows air traffic control to help everything be successful. The number 2 is understanding the importance of the pre-flight and pre-landing checklists. Well, in an airplane, like I said, you're checking things like, do we have enough fuel? Do the flaps go up and down so when we need to use them, that they're working? Are the wheels intact? Do we have enough rubber on the wheels to land when we get down there? Those are really important elements. Because when we look at the checklist, those are things like, am I meeting my deadlines? Am I meeting my expectations? Am I supporting my team? Am I following the guidelines? Am I getting new learning and training when I need them? Am I asking for it? Am I asking for help and support when it's important? So those checklists are those little elements that ask us, okay, so we know where we're supposed to fly the plane, but now are we really doing the right steps, or are we skipping some steps? Are there any things that we're missing because we want to push past it? We want to get it done faster. We just want to make this all happen. We want to get the plane up in the air. That's the exciting part, is when you're actually flying, right? But the pre-checklists and the pre-flight checklists and the pre-landing checklists are not just for safety, they're for continuity. If we do it every time, then we know that there is function, form, formality, process, procedure that allows us on the business end to not only be successful, but to replicate success. And that's really critical. So the third element, though, is fly the plane. So you can spend all the time you want doing the pre-flight checklist, but if you don't actually fly the plane, you're not going to get anywhere. In other words, those people who spend so much time preparing that they never actually get into action, that doesn't do you any good anyway, because you never get off the ground. But when you do get off the ground and you fly the plane, you also have to now have some other issues to take into consideration, like, I don't know, avoid distractions. Don't let something else keep you from the focus of actually flying the plane. If you get distracted because there's a bird over there, and oh, there's a bird, and you keep looking at the bird, you might miss that you're about ready to fly into a mountain. You have to pay attention and avoid distractions. But you also can't spend all the time looking at the controls that you never look up and around, because the controls only tell you one piece of information. Your visual field will tell you something else. And in business, that means if I'm only doing my job and my head is down because I'm only doing my job, but I never look up and around to see, is my job working correctly in relation to the function of everybody else's roles and responsibilities in moving this company forward, then we're also in a completely blinders side motion that keeps us from having good success and having replicatable success. So when we look around, we're not just focused on those immediate things that seem so urgent and important at the moment, but that might not help us actually fly the entire plane. If I'm only looking at a couple of parts of the instruments, I have too narrow of a focus. It doesn't allow me to help the whole. So as I sit here and watch another plane that is landing right now, and it's very gently coming down, and the wheels are just down now, I'm so in awe of all the things that that pilot had to do to get the plane up, fly around, and come back. And the importance of the people in that tower in air traffic control to help them navigate the things that the pilot cannot see. Because remember, leaders are also looking at a different scenario point. They're looking from a different vantage point than you are. And they're trying to make sure the entire airway is safe for you and effective for you so that your flight can be as positive and productive as possible. So as we wrap up my motivation for today, I just want you to stop and think about whether or not these things apply to where you are right now. And if so, you might ask yourself, am I listening to air traffic control? Have I used my pre-flight and pre-landing checklists? Am I actually flying the plane? And if you're missing any one of those elements, we certainly don't want you to crash and burn. That's what's motivating me this week. I hope it motivates you as well. We will be back with another episode of Morning Motivation soon.